بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. We're going to continue with the second part of some of the common mistakes made during fasting. Some of the common mistakes and misunderstandings during Ramadan and fasting. And again, these are not in a particular order, so they're, if you want to say random, but they're random benefits concerning the same issue. Misunderstandings and mistakes. So we'll pick up with the next issue, which is تطيب بعض النساء إذا خرجنا لصلاة التراويح وكذلك عدم التستر الكامل. Another mistake made during Ramadan, and this one is specific for the sisters. Specific for the sisters, which is going to the Salat al-Tarawih, going to the Tarawih prayer, or any other prayer for that matter, but specifically here it mentions the Tarawih prayer, with perfume on, with perfume. Also, as there's a prohibition, if we don't know, on women, sisters leaving the house wearing perfume. This is something to be mindful of for the women, the sisters, of leaving the house wearing perfume. Not in the house, leaving the house. The narrations, the hadith are clear related to the prohibition of the sisters wearing perfume outside of the home. Doesn't mean that you can't wear perfume, but there's a designated specific time for that. Also, not being properly covered. Not being properly covered when going to the prayer. Not being properly covered when going to the prayer. And this is, in reality, not restricted to Ramadan. And it's not restricted to Taraweeh. The hijab, and inshallah, we're going to do a seminar on the details of hijab. What is hijab, and what does it consist of? What does it really mean? What are the conditions for it? And everything else pertaining to the hijab, because it seems as though many don't understand the reality of hijab. What is it for, and what is it for, what is not for? Tayyib. So if this is the case throughout the year, meaning the mistake of going to the masjid, a place of worship, and remember, the woman, the sister, she's going to do her ibadah. It's not like she's going out to do something haram. She's going to do worship. But it's still, the fact that she's going to do worship doesn't allow her to wear perfume outside of the home. It doesn't allow her not to be properly covered outside of the home. And the covering, sisters, is an issue that, inshallah, we want to deal with according to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam, not according to our own understanding, not according to the latest style. The latest style, sisters, does not dictate how the Muslim woman covers. Whatever's popular at the time doesn't dictate if it's a proper covering for the Muslimah, but the conditions for the hijab, for the covering of the Muslims, are found in the Quran and Sunnah, and that covering is for the men and the women. Because now, some of the brothers are not covered properly. So it's not a thing that's only specific for the women. Now some of the men, they come and they're not covered properly. Because why? Some have allowed the style to dictate how they're going to cover themselves. So the style for some now is tight pants, right? Tight pants and tight shirts. So now when it comes time for the salah, and the brother has to make ruku', bend and make sujood, now some of his awrah is exposed in the salah. That is obligatory to be covered. So now some of his backside, when he goes into the court. He can't even go into the court properly because he has to keep pulling his shirt down because his pants are too small, right? Allowing the style of the time to dictate how we cover ourselves instead of allowing the Quran and the Sunnah to dictate how we cover ourselves. And in reality, if you can't pray in it, then you shouldn't be outside of it. Right? Sister, if you can't pray in the clothes that you have on, right, then that's a sign. What has to be covered in the salat is the awrah. That area that has to be covered in the salat has to be covered also outside of the salat. Right? For the brothers too. If you can't pray in it, then more than likely you shouldn't be outside dressed like that. Question now, and then we're going to move on. Because the reality is now, another style now for men are jeans. In the jeans, they have holes in them. Right? The jeans have holes. And the holes sometimes are below the knee, and sometimes the holes are on the thigh. Right? Sometimes the hole, that's the style. Right? The jeans come like that. The thigh is part of the awrah of the man. And sometimes you see people walking down the street, man, and you can see the skin on their thigh. So now, can a brother come and pray like that with his thigh exposed in the salat? Huh? Mushkila. No, he can't pray like that. If you can't pray in it, then you shouldn't be outside of it. Right? Now, he might come, brother might come to the salat, and he might put his arm to cover his awrah. Alhamdulillah. But after that, what does he do? He takes it back off and he exposes the awrah again. It doesn't make it okay to expose the awrah, but that's just the reality that has to be dealt with, covering properly for the men and the women. Tayyib. Secondly, and some of these were mentioned in brief yesterday, so we won't go into too much detail for the ones that we already mentioned. He says another one, تأخير بعض الصائمين صلاة الظهر والعصر عن وقتيهما لغلبة النوم. Delaying Salat al-Asr, sleeping, oversleeping Salat al-Dhuhr and Asr due to sleeping, due to oversleeping, which is a point that we have to guard our time after Taraweeh, or after, if we didn't pray Taraweeh and Isha, we need to be getting prepared for the next day. We can't waste our whole night just wasting it, because it's going to take away from our energy for the fast. Right? If you fall asleep, you wake up and you pray when you wake up. But to constantly, if it becomes a pattern that you have to combine, you have to pray Dhuhr and Asr together every day. So every day you oversleep Dhuhr all the way into Asr, then that's a problem. That's a problem. It shouldn't be something that we're comfortable with, that we have to pray one salat outside of this time. Now, of course, if we have the excuse for the person who falls asleep and they miss the salat, then they make it up when they make up the salat when they wake up. But that shouldn't be the norm. That shouldn't be the pattern that a person is used to. As the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, أنه سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أي صلاة الخير. What is the best salat? He asked the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, what is the best salat? قال صلى الله عليه وسلم الصلاة على وقتها. To pray the salat in its time. To pray the salat in its time. And in another narration, it says, "Ala awwali waqtiha," to pray the salat in its earliest time. So this is the next mistake mentioned: to oversleep the prayers due to being so tired. And a lot of times that comes from us not managing our days properly, not managing our days and our nights properly. We should be, as it was mentioned yesterday, we should be trying to build our days around the salat. Our days in Ramadan and all year, but specifically in this time, we should try to get in the pattern and the habit of building and preparing our days around the times of the prayers so that we can be ready. طيب. The next one, تأخير الإفطار. And we mentioned this briefly in the first part. This mistake is to delay the breaking of the fast. Right? To delay the breaking of the fast. And the sunnah is to, what? Rush to break the fast. But we're rushing to break the fast when? Huh? When we're sure. When we're sure that it's time to break the fast. Because I might not be, a person may not be at the masjid. A person might be at work when it's time to break fast. So if we're in the masjid or where the Quran Jama'ah, it's easy because we're waiting on the adhan. Like if we're at work or wherever we're at, we're not there, then we rush to break the fast when we're sure that it's time to break the fast. And there's many ways to do that. But let me ask you a question. If you're not in the masjid at the time when it's time to break fast, right? It's more than one way to be sure that it's time to break. What would you say the safest way is to be sure that it's time to break fast?
Look at the sky.
Look at the sky, mashallah. I don't know what I'm looking for in the sky. It's my first Ramadan, so I don't know what to look for. Tayyip?
Yeah, I'm going to add 3 to 5 minutes the day before that you book your fast.
3 to 5 minutes after the day before. Tayyip. Mathalan. 3 or 5 days before, I was in the masjid. I don't remember exactly what time it was. I'm at work. I don't remember what time it was 3 or 4 days before. 3 days before. I can't remember exactly. Right?
When the thing goes off on your phone, if you have to maybe wait 4 minutes after that.
I work around equipment. I can't have my phone on. Right? Or I don't trust the app. Let's just say I don't trust the app. Huh? When it's dark. All right. But let's just say, for example, I know, and it's not a trick question, but just so we get the mind. I know yesterday we broke fast, Mathalan. We broke fast yesterday at 8 o'clock. I'm at work, but I know on the schedule it goes 1 or 2 minutes. It's easy. Call somebody that's at the masjid. Right? That's for sure. Did he call their name? Yeah, Tayyip. That don't say you have to do that. That's one way. A person could just go off their app. If you remember, okay, yesterday we broke at 8:01. So the day usually it goes up about 1 minute, 8:02 or 8:03. I'm gonna wait to 8:05. Right? If you have all of that like that, if not, you want to be safe because sometimes when you get in the flow, you might forget exactly what time. But I know for sure if I'm at work, I know the brother, he's usually at the masjid. Let me call him and see if they broke or what time are they going to break. Right? Or I'll call around the time. If you hear the mu'adhin, then that's safe. That doesn't mean you can't use the application. That doesn't mean you can't use other ways of just different ways that we can get there. But ta'khir al-suhoor, iftar, delaying the iftar, when we should rush to break the fast, once we're sure that it is time to fast. It's the sunnah is to rush to break the fast when we're sure that it's time to break the fast. As the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجلوا الفطر, that the people will remain upon goodness as long as they rush to break the fast. As long as they hurry up and break their fast once it is time to break the fast. Tayyib. I think we mentioned this yesterday also, or the day before, but here's another, just to mention in brief, not making the dua when we break fast. Another mistake is being negligent of making the dua when we're breaking the fast. And there are many different ones to make. There are many different adiyah to make connected to that. But not to just, of course, we're all hungry. We're fasting, everybody's hungry, everybody's thirsty. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't practice the sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ and break fast and make the dua from the different prayers that he would make when he broke his fast, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Tayyib. Another one, the next one, and this has to do with, connected to the last 10 nights of Ramadan. May Allah forgive us. Connected to the last 10 nights of Ramadan. انشغال بعض المسلمين في العشر الأواخر من رمضان في الشراء والملابس. Some of the Muslims are busy during the last 10 nights with doing what? Shopping for clothes. Shopping. Spending the last 10 nights where Laylatul Qadr, we're looking for Laylatul Qadr, one night that's worth 1,000 months of worship. Spending them, right? Shopping. Looking for shoes high and low. I can't go to their Eid except that I have these shoes. So we riding all over. We fasting. We might travel while we fasting. Last 10 nights to go get something to wear to their Eid. We might do so much during the day that we can't stand that night. We burnt out. right? A mistake. And the sunnah is to wear from what? What you have, the best that you have. Whatever's in your closet or wherever you keep, the best that you have, you should wear that. It doesn't necessitate that we have to go buy something for the Eid. We don't have to. Sunnah is to wear the best that you have. But now to spend the last 10 nights of Ramadan, the last 10 days and nights, busy shopping and wasting time and going overboard, then this puts us in a predicament where sometimes we put ourselves in a situation where we could possibly blow the reward of missing Laylatul Qadr, It doesn't mean that you can't shop. It doesn't mean that you can't buy something nice for their Eid. But if we want to be as close to the Sunnah as possible of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, number one, during the last 10 nights, he would increase in worship. He would spend more time praying, right? He would spend more time away from people, away from his wives, so he could worship. He would turn up the worship, right? I'tikaf, staying in the masjid longer, doing more of everything that he was already doing. Not slacking off. We only got a couple days left, so let me slack off and start getting ready for Eid. We might not even make it to Eid. Huh? We could die and just have a bunch of new clothes sitting in the house, right? And we never get to wear, realistically. So the Prophet ﷺ, as I said in the hadith, that in the last 10 nights, he would stay away from his wives as far as intimacy, increase in worship, and he would also wake his family up to pray. To pray, not to drive to the mall. To pray. Can you drive to the mall? Is it permissible? You choose. You can drive to the mall in the last 10 nights. Is that the best thing to do when we seek on Laylatul Qadr and time is running out of that month? It's not necessarily the best thing to do, not during that time, not during the last 10 nights. So these are something we need to take into consideration. طيب. The next one, انشغال بعض الصائمين بالإفطار عن متابعة الأذان المغرب. All of this ties in. طيب. At the same time we're breaking fast, right? It's sunnah to rush to break the fast. It's also sunnah to do what? Make dua when we're breaking fast. It's also sunnah to repeat after the mu'adhin while he's calling the adhan, right? All of these things we should be trying to do. We shouldn't, well, I'm making this dua, so I don't really need that dua. No, we should be trying to make as many prayers as possible, right? As many prayers as possible. As the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا سَمِعْتُمُ النِّدَاءَ فَقُولُوا مِثْلَ مَا يَقُولُ الْمُؤَذِّنُ. If you hear the adhan, then say what the mu'adhin is saying. It's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So the fact that we're breaking fast doesn't mean we should leave this sunnah. And it's not like we have to read from a book. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It's possible to say Allahu Akbar, repeat the mu'adhin while you're eating. It doesn't necessitate that you can't have anything in your mouth to repeat after the mu'adhin. It doesn't mean you can't have any food in your mouth in order to make the dua or something like that. Two things can be done at one time. طيب. Another common mistake, and this was mentioned briefly the other day, not a mistake, not encouraging the kids to fast. Not encouraging the kids to fast and using the excuse, well, they're still young. They're still young. They are young. And just because they're young doesn't mean, of course, it's not obligatory for them. But at the same time, it doesn't mean we can't encourage the kids to fast. Those who haven't reached puberty, the young ones, not like a 4-year-old, but a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9. The closer they are to reaching puberty, we should definitely be encouraging them to fast. And if they are not that close to puberty, it doesn't mean that they can't fast. As was mentioned yesterday, that it's possible maybe we start them off encouraging them to fast half the day. The point is that to get the kids used to fasting to some extent. If we start them off with half a day, and as they go through the month, they can do another hour. They can go earlier through the day. As the month goes on, they started off maybe with 4 hours. By the end of the month, they can do 6 hours. Maybe during the last 10, they might be able to do a whole day if they're that young. But to use the excuse that they're young and, you know, it's not on them, I'm not going to encourage them, this is a mistake, and it's found in the Athar narration or the Hadith, where it says that we used to encourage our children to fast, and they would give them what? To keep them busy. They would give the kids toys to keep them busy. When they became hungry, they would give them something, toys to keep them busy, so that they could complete that day of fasting. So to just leave them and not prepare them, that's a mistake on our part. The adults, that's a mistake on the awliya, the adults. طيب. Another important one, مسارعة في قراءة القرآن بلا تدبر. Reading the Quran and just reading it in a quick fashion, just to hurry up and finish, right? Because everybody wants to finish a juz a day, right? If I read a juz a day, 30 days, I finish the Quran. Khayr, it's good. But just to be reading and not, with no understanding, reading and not pondering over the verses, reading and not thinking about anything, just to hurry up and finish, this is not what the Quran was revealed for. This is not what the Quran was revealed for. And lastly, as I'm not going to go too long because we have Al-Fadl coming after me, إضاعة Sunnah مع القدرة. Leaving off the Sunnah of making i'tikaf for the person who has the ability. If a person has the ability to free themselves of any responsibility and sit and worship Allah, sit in the masjid and read and worship Allah, if a person has the ability to do that, this is from the Sunnah of the Messenger, and it's only a few times that I can personally think that you will actually have the opportunity to sit and do nothing but worship without any distractions. Maybe doing i'tikaf, and maybe not even i'tikaf, because somebody might blow you, you know. They might just, one thing we got to get used to is respecting the space of other people when they're reading. We don't really respect the space of people when they're reading. If they're reading, let them read. Right? A lot of times we don't have much to say. It's not that important that I need to stop the person from reading Quran to say what I'm going to say. Right? There's something to say, but it's not that important. Let them finish reading. Right? But i'tikaf is that time where you can sit, read. You don't have to worry about too many distractions. The only other time that I personally can think of is Yom Arafah, on Hajj, Yom Arafah. There's nothing else to do. You're going to be on Arafah from Dhuhr until Maghrib. You're not going anywhere. Right? You're not going anywhere from Dhuhr to Maghrib. Everybody's there for the same reason, to make dua for those hours of the day. There's nothing to really take you away unless you allow people to take you away, because everybody is there for the same reason, to make those dua and to ask Allah for forgiveness. And I'm not going to go too long. I'm going to stop there so that the brother can come after me, inshallah, give some benefit.
One question. When reading the Quran, during the masjid, you're reading Quran, and we know there are maybe people who don't know about those etiquettes. You know, they may approach you, they may, you know, may even be someone you haven't seen in a while. What is the etiquette in, like, should you continue reading, like?
Ignore them, I think. It's like, I'm joking.
No, I'm serious, because if that's the way, you know, we should know. I want to know.
No, I mean, sometimes people don't know, but generally, I'm talking about generally as a community and as a society of Muslims, generally, we have to understand that, I don't even know how to say it, but the way I said it. If a person's reading the Quran, the ulama discuss, even if somebody's reading the Quran, even to give them salams. Even to give them salams while they're reading the Quran. Why? Because they're going to have to do what?
return.
They're going to stop after that. It's obligatory now for them to return. So now they have to stop reading the book of Allah to return the salam. They have to return the salams, right? So a lot of times, it's not that deep for us to break a person's worship of Qira'at al-Quran, reading the Quran, to say what I'm saying. If I have to say it, then say it. If people don't know, we don't have to bark on them and, you know, scream at them, but, you know, maybe, inshallah, they'll learn somewhere down the line, because that's a touchy. How you tell them, don't talk to me next time, that's going to be difficult.
We hold our finger up like, hold on a minute.
You could, if you want to do it nice, but you might want to do it with a smile. Yeah, if you do it with a smile, it might be a little easier. Huh? Say it again. Yeah, do something. Smile at your brother and give you 1 minute, inshallah. Something like, you know, well, however you got to do it so that they won't feel offended, and along those blessed with sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa barak nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
معلش